there was saying funny guesses, Danielle Taylor. Not a single, maybe the only person I would have expected to possibly guess this week would have been Alvin, and he did not, and he has yet to before I reveal it. But no one was ever going to guess this person. And the interesting thing, before I do get into this, about this Fan of Punch breakdown is that it is kind of, what's a good word to describe it? It is kind of a visual motion picture collage or collaboration of multiple things coming together. It's like several mini Fan of Punches inside an overall one. So this is a very unique one. And there you go. I gave it away by saying Alvin would get it, and he gets it right. It is Jackie Buntan week, you guys. Fan of Punch breakdown number 21. Ghost says this one took 3 months to finish, so hope you like it. As I said, it is practically a super breakdown because it features many other people. It's practically a collab. And I mean, not of people breaking down, but of people that are featured. So big props to Ghost on this one ahead of it as we get to Jackie Buntan, a tactics study. Get your popcorn ready, lads, ladies and lads, or whatever you identify yourself as. No judgment here. So let's get rolling. This will be a study of Buntan striking and how it can be applied in an MMA context. Ambient footwork. Ambient footwork is defined as the movement done when not stepping in or exiting striking exchanges. It's the movement when no action is occurring during the fight. And that is a quote from, from Sylvie Von Douglas E2, the only Western Nakmoy to fight 268 times. That's a couple fights. Buntan's ambient footwork has a strategy of forcing the opponent to turn and step towards her. The first type of ambient footwork Buntan uses is a step feint, while laterally moving to the right to constantly weaken the opponent's position and make her entries less predictable. Buntan's sidestep towards the opponent leads the opponent's lead side, forces her opponent to constantly readjust her stance and distance. See a little arrow down there. Buntan sidesteps and simultaneously feint steps into range. Oh, man, Ghost going all out with this one. Do you see that effect? We got to do a double take on that. If I can go back properly. Look at this. You got radiation from the knee. Let's take a look at the frequency of Buntan's step, feints, and lateral steps. There it is again. This is next level. Buntan's use of the L step helps her flank the lead side of her opponent. Massive L step. An L step is where a fighter retracts the lead leg and resets their stance. L step is done at a distance where the opponent has to turn and step towards Buntan to attack. The opponent has to turn and face Buntan, causing a moment where the opponent's position is weakened. L step example number 2. Another L step towards the opponent's lead shoulder. putting the L step and the step feint together. Example of ambient footwork here against Vanderyeva. And here's Rose Namajunas using purposeful ambient footwork. So the first mid-Phantom Punch guest appearance, right? Breakdown within the breakdown. A step feint right there against Joanna here in the rematch. L step. Slow motion as Rose used a similar type of ambient footwork as Buntan, but her step feints are more pronounced. Look at this is in slow motion, and this is one of this might be the fastest fight I've ever seen in terms of how quick they both were in that fight. It was pretty insane. And now, I guess some of you guys' predictions were right, as this is a mini Weili breakdown as well. So, Zhang Weili using purposeful ambient footwork coming your way. I told you, it's a super breakdown. As here's the step feint in the rematch that we saw UFC 268 in New York City. Reverse L step. This type of L step is harder than a regular one due to the rear foot swinging back. This time, Weili looks to flank the rear shoulder instead of the lead shoulder. Slow motion review here as the ambient footwork is in reverse, but the same principles and ideas from Buntan's footwork are applied by Weili. Weili uses the L step as a defensive tool here in the Joanna Classic. Weili sees the switch front kick to the face, prepares her defense with a modified L step. Weili does not retract her lead leg fully for the modified L step in order to catch the front kick. After the counter hook misses, Weili used the hooking arm to post on Joanna's head to exit the exchange. L step to get out of the range and flank the lead shoulder. Both fighters are now on the fence. A little slow motion here. Joanna using purposeful ambient footwork. Now time for a little Joanna mini breakdown. With a step feint against Andrade. The L step. And some slow-mo as Joanna uses ambient footwork to force her opponent to turn. Step feints and L step are useful against forward-moving opponents since they can't readjust to the new angle due to the forward commitment. Implementing strikes off of ambient footwork as we go back to Jackie. Watch that knee. Elbow right there. 3/4 step is a shorter lateral step compared to a full step. This type of broken rhythm keeps the opponent off balanced when Buntan enters. Slap hook on the 3/4 step coming at you. Rear straight misses but pulls down the opponent's guard. Opponent tries to long guard on Buntan's lead shoulder. The opponent's long guard is ineffective due to Buntan and her opponent being hip to hip, allowing Buntan to land her lead hook. Smack, smack, bang, pow. L step reestablishes distance and allows Buntan to create new angles in the future. Thinking ahead. Buntan goes back to step feigning, a foundation of her own ambient footwork. Buntan builds off her ambient footwork by playing with her opponent's expectations. Opponent expects Buntan to keep stepping forward towards her lead shoulder. Buntan breaks the expected pattern by skip stepping and feinting high. Beautiful jab to the body lands. Kablamo. Buntan squares off her opponent's lead foot, pointed to the midsection or the crotch. Buntan makes it seem like she is flanking the opponent's lead shoulder, but instead she breaks their pattern and attacks on the tracks. Slap hook on the opponent's high guard. Now the opponent cannot see the next incoming shot. Buntan is able to attack on the tracks like this due to her entries being hard to read due to all the step feints she shows. Rear straight lands to the body underneath the long guard. Closes the door with the lead hook. Lead hook allows Buntan to blade her stance at the end of the combination. Buntan uses the same slap hook, rear body straight lead hook combo, but this time off the L step. L step to flank opponent's lead shoulder. Buntan has her opponent on the fence. Bounce allows her to stop on a dime and return to stance while the opponent is out of position, being able to get to stance quickly. If we can go back real quick. Apologies. There we are. Bounce allows her to stop on a dime and return to stance while the opponent is out of position. Being able to get to stance quickly like this allows Buntan to fire off a combination while the opponent is trying to readjust. Slap hook to the opponent's high guard. There you go, a little open palm action. Rear body straight, misses underneath the long guard. Buntan's ambient footwork allows her to attack from any position on the tracks, on the fence, square it off when her opponent least expects her to. Being able to enter striking range when the opponent least expects is one of the most important skills in MMA. This is even more important in MMA when Muay Thai, due to the large distance that most MMA fighters operate at. The large distance allows MMA fighters to predict and see incoming attacks, especially when the opponent enters on a straight line. Implementing Buntan's ambient footwork to any MMA fighter striking or grappling arsenal, regardless of level, can help their game enormously. This is especially important for wrestlers and grapplers, since opponents will have a hard time predicting the shot coming with the constant changes in position, as well as dealing with striking into wrestling exchanges. Buntan can attack on the tracks successfully without taking damage due to her sneaky footwork. On the tracks. Rear foot is brought up near the lead foot, shortening Buntan's stance. Opponent does not expect the incoming attack due to all the step feints Buntan showed earlier. She does not know what attack is real and what is a feint. Slap hook pins the high guard and hides the stance switch. Lead hook to close the door as the stance switch creates the exit angle. Buntan has her opponent on the fence, lead foot lined up with the opponent's lead foot. This allows Buntan time to evade the incoming rear straight counter since opponent has to turn to face Buntan. A little slow-mo here on the replay. Same entry and combination, but different opponent. Buntan used the same combination, slap hook, rear straight, slap hook, rear straight, rear body hook, but makes tiny adjustments to her entry and targets as they're on the tracks right there. Back against Wonder Girl. Picks up the lead knee to enter range. Slap hook occupies the high guard. Rear straight goes underneath the long guard. Great adjustment by Buntan. Left hook hits kidneys instead of liver. That is fine, since a kidney shot is not pleasant either. Buntan ends the combination by squaring her opponent off. The opponent is completely off-balanced. Buntan enters by picking up her lead knee and fires her lead hook underneath the opponent's rear hand. Sneaky, sneaky. Buntan can also enter range on the tracks with no setup. While the approach is easily countered, most of Buntan's opponents expect her to feint into range before attacking, so making an attack on the tracks without a feint or setup becomes unexpected. Slaps the opponent's rear hand, which shuts down the rear hand since the slap jams up future rotation of the opponent's hips. Beautiful rear straight of the body lands and exits on the angle towards the opponent's power hand. This time, Buntan enters with a throwaway jab as she enters from long range. Throwaway jab allows Buntan to close the distance and force a reaction from the opponent. Up jab lands off the throwaway jab into range. Notice how the up jab is used as a counter to the opponent's rear straight. Rear straight misses, but this punch loads up her lead hook. Buntan lands a lead hook on the nose. Pop. The opponent squared off and off-balanced while Buntan has a proper stance ready to attack again. Israel Adesanya is the best example of using ambient movement in all directions to set up his strikes. Bet you didn't see that mini breakdown coming. As we are here against Paulo Costa, Adesanya uses 3-step in head and shoulder feints to square the opponent up. L-step as soon as the opponent tries to face Adesanya. On the fence. Low kick while on the fence. The opponent's back leg is completely exposed. After the low kick hits the knee, Adesanya goes back to his ambient footwork by L-stepping and step feinting. Reverse L-step used as a defensive measure. Adesanya keeps using reverse L-steps to get off the track, and until he finds a good position on the fence or square it off would do. On the fence here. Inside, a little outside low kick. Lead leg double attack is a tactic where Buntan uses an inside low kick to force a reaction followed by a body kick. This is a hard kick to defend since the opponent has to react low before defending high. How low can you go? Inside low kick forces the opponent to check. Body kick lands as the opponent is recovering from defending inside low kick. Smack, smack. Beautiful. And slow-mo. Weili and Joanna both use this lead leg double attack tactic in MMA context and against each other. Reverse L-step by Weili squares Joanna up. Straight arm post allows Weili to leverage her kick as well as evade incoming punches. Wonderful. Oop, missed something there. Excuse me. Lead leg double attack, but Joanna goes for a head kick instead of a body kick on the tracks. Slow-mo replay. The lead leg double attack takes speed and skill to perform since it's 2 kicks in succession, so it's understandable that we don't see it in MMA that often. However, ambient footwork can be learned by anyone and raise anyone's game regardless of level. Why isn't purposeful ambient footwork present so hard to find in MMA? Most footwork, especially in the lower levels in MMA, is just forward and backwards. And that is our question of the day on the Phantom Punch Breakdown. More excellent stuff from Ghost Phantom. And I think from watching that, the easy answer to that question is because not everybody is well versed in the art of Muay Thai or things alike, Ghost. Otherwise, we'd see it a good bit more, and I think you answered your own question, and I'm sure you generally do. But it's, of course, fun to ask and get other people thinking, so it's expected for us not to see that kind of footwork from, let's say, a very strong, talented wrestler, unless they're making some very versatile changes and adaptations to their game as they get into MMA, but it's all about background, I think, in this case. And you broke it down quite wonderfully, and I'm very curious to see what the 60 comments have got to say.